This video is brought to you with the support of TrueFire. Learn, practice, and play with TrueFire. Hi, this is Keith Williams. Welcome to 5 Watt World. We're interested in helping you get the most music from the least gear. The rest of the band took a short break, but Chick Corea came out on the edge of the stage, lit with a single spot, and sat down at a Fender Rhodes piano and played the opening melody for his signature piece, Spain. The tune starts slowly, then builds, adding complexity as it adds tempo and momentum. And as he went into the upbeat middle section, the band kicked back in, playing the quick melody in unison, and the crowd reacted with a spontaneous ovation. That was in 1995 at Binghamton University, and it's one of my clearest memories of a live concert. In that magical moment, that sold-out crowd got everything they'd come for and more, and is all powered by one man and a single electric piano, a Fender Rhodes. So if you've always wondered about the origin story and evolution of this hit-making machine, stay tuned, because this is the 5 Watt World short history of the Fender Rhodes piano. If you enjoy our videos, take a minute to subscribe. It really helps out. Or grab a t-shirt, hoodie, Stomp preset pack, or a Barber 5 Watt World BUSS Overdrive to support what we do. And to become a bigger part of 5 Watt World, sign up for the Friends of 5 Watt on Patreon. There's a friend level to suit any budget. The links are in the description. In a 1985 interview, Harold Rhodes outlined the origin of the piano. In 1942, his official job in the Air Force was as a flight instructor trainee, but he'd been a successful piano instructor before the war, so in his downtime, he began giving piano lessons to his buddies there. He began imagining a laptop piano that could be played comfortably by bedridden soldiers as a means of emotional rehabilitation. Walking around the airfield, there were many disabled planes with parts lying about. Seeing aluminum tubing out of the wings, he thought to himself, maybe I could make a piano-like instrument out of this scrap. He took the tubing, cut it into xylophone lengths, rigged up some simple hammers from wood he found laying around the base, and made a rudimentary keyboard. He initially called his little 29-note piano the Air Corps piano, or the Xylette. Harold said that he would work with the patients, getting them to play simple melodies constructed from their telephone numbers, then adding chord accompaniment. And the soldiers loved it. So much so that he was called to the Pentagon to explain what he'd been doing. Coming out of that meeting, he'd been put in charge of all the music instruction in the rehabilitation programs of all the Air Force hospitals. At the end of the war, the Secretary of War gave him a medal and told him he'd helped more than 250,000 recovering soldiers with his keyboard program. After the war, he was faced with what to do next, so he continued to develop the piano. And it went through many iterations before arriving at the Rhodes piano we know today. In that radio interview, Rhodes describes the workings of the piano this way, quote, "It's like an unusual tuning fork, where one of the legs is actually a piece of piano wire. That's struck by a hammer, so you have a legitimate action striking, which is like a piano, like an acoustic instrument. Then there's a little electric pickup that records the sound, much like an electric guitar. So like a conventional acoustic piano, a Rhodes generates sound by keys and hammers, but instead of striking groups of strings like in an acoustic piano, the hammers strike thin metal tines which vibrate next to electromagnetic pickups." Leo Fender met Harold Rhodes and liked what he'd done with his little piano during the war. Rhodes remembered Fender telling him that they should leverage the Fender name to give the piano a boost in the marketplace. But Leo had nothing to do with the development of the piano other than providing the financial backing for the instrument to continue to be developed and manufactured. So Leo Fender entered into a financial and distribution deal with the Rhodes Piano Company. Leo felt strongly that there was a market for an instrument that could be used to play bass parts, so in 1959, the Fender Musical Instrument Company began manufacturing the 32-note Fender Rhodes keyboard bass, essentially the lowest 32 notes on a piano keyboard as a standalone instrument. CBS would then purchase Fender in 1965 and take over manufacturing the Rhodes. The first widespread exposure for the keyboard bass likely came in 1967 with the first album by The Doors, with the tune "Break On Through to the Other Side." The tune kicks off with a slightly distorted bass figure played on the Fender Rhodes piano bass that would be part of the band's trademark sound for the following 5 hit records. The band was of Jim Morrison on vocals, Ray Manzarek on keyboards, Robbie Krieger on guitar, and John Densmore on drums. Without a bass player, Manzarek played the bass parts most of the time on his Rhodes piano bass. Manzarek would later feature the full Rhodes piano on the tune Riders on the Storm on the L.A. Woman album released in 1971. But many people believe that the piano wasn't taken seriously as an instrument until Miles Davis insisted his piano player, Herbie Hancock, play the Rhodes on the session for his 1968 album Miles in the Sky. The opening tune on that record, Stuff, exposed the Rhodes to an entire world of musicians that had previously looked on the Rhodes as a toy. The succession of pianists in Miles' band, from Herbie Hancock to Joe Zawinul to Chick Corea, were all told that they needed to play the Rhodes. So the Rhodes was put in front of the public in Miles Davis's records starting in '68. And then each of those musicians, along with many others that had heard it on Miles's records, continued to use the Rhodes as a voice on their own records. Because the piano could be tuned mechanically, each player could adjust the piano to suit their own style and voice as a player. Rhodes pointed out that, quote, using a screwdriver and a pair of pliers, you can alter the tonality of the piano to suit. Ray Charles did it in an entirely different way, as you would imagine Ray Charles would, end quote. Although more often associated with the Wurlitzer electric piano, Ray Charles was featured in the 1980 Blues Brothers movie playing Shake Your Tail Feathers on a Rhodes. Another example of the customizability of the piano was that Miles wanted a specific tone that came from having the pickups very close to the tines, at 1/8 of an inch instead of the original 1/4 of an inch. This doubled the volume from the pickup. After CBS bought Fender Instrument Company in '65, Rhodes introduced the 73-note Fender Rhodes Mark I suitcase piano, which included a keyboard, amplifier, and speaker cabinet in one unit. When released, the 73 suitcase was listed at $895, which included both the piano and the amplifier cabinet, while the piano bass at that time listed for $390. The suitcase-style piano was recently featured in Peter Jackson's production of the Beatles' Get Back. Billy Preston can be seen playing a Fender Rhodes Mark I sparkle-top suitcase piano on Get Back and memorably on Don't Let Me Down. It's believed that this came to the Beatles, along with many other instruments and amplifiers, as part of Fender's marketing director Don Randall's longtime courting of the band to play Fender instruments live. The suitcase Rhodes made it possible for keyboardists to bring their own pianos to gigs, even though it would take multiple guys to move it in and out of the van. Remember, this was at a time when carrying a Hammond organ and a Leslie speaker was still part of even a well-off bar band's keyboard rig. Interestingly, I found a weight for a 1978 Suitcase 73. The top weighed 130 pounds, and the amp bottom weighed 110 pounds. Like the Hammond organ's internal amplifier, the suitcase amplifier of the Rhodes was powerful enough to keep up with the band. In 1973, the company introduced the stage piano, without the speakers and the amplifier, that could be plugged into amplifiers or sound systems. During the 70s, a full 88-key model was also made. I remember reading in Downbeat magazine that jazz trumpet player and composer-arranger Tom Harrell has an 88-key Rhodes in his Manhattan apartment as an alternative to an actual acoustic piano. A 1973 retail price list had the 73-key stage piano at $720 and the 88-key version stage piano at $870. Fender still sold amps and powered speakers that could be paired with the stage piano that ran between $500 and $800. In 1973, Stevie Wonder had a massive hit with You Are the Sunshine of My Life on his Talking Book album, featuring the Rhodes throughout. And later in '73, Wonder would again feature the Rhodes on Livin' for the City. And that year, Elton John featured his Rhodes on his hit Daniel from Don't Shoot Me, I'm the Piano Player. And finally, 10cc had a #1 that year with I'm Not in Love, featuring the Rhodes as well. I reached out to TrueFire to be my sponsor because I've used them for years. I'm currently having fun going through Eric Johnson's Tone, Melody, and Truth course. With over 2 million users worldwide, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced level player, TrueFire has lessons to enhance and inspire your playing. Get 35% off courses using the promo code 5watt35, or like I do, sign up for the All Access Pass to use the entire TrueFire catalog. I really like TrueFire, and I think if you give them a shot, you'll like them too. Sign up using the link in the description to support 5Watt World and get some great lessons at the same time. I'd like to thank TrueFire for their support in making this video. In 1974, the CBS-led Fender Corp decided to drop the Fender name and simply call the piano the Rhodes Mark I. By the late 70s, the Rhodes was hitting the height of its popularity, and in 1979 they released the Mark II. Herbie Hancock continued to use his Rhodes in a more jazz-funk version vein as the 70s wore on. featuring prominently on his '76 release, Secrets. In '77, we heard Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are, putting a Rhodes back at number 1. In April of '79, Mike McDonald of the Doobie Brothers would write, play, and sing the hit Minute by Minute. The light soul-inflected intro is something every Rhodes owner needs to have in their book. And that same year, Steely Dan's Asia was released, spinning off numerous hits integrating the Rhodes. And in 1980, their album Gaucho would give us some of the most memorable Rhodes work by Fagen, including the seminal Babylon Sisters, featuring a wonderfully full and dark Rhodes tone. Of course, the Rhodes is all over the Steely Dan catalog, and Donald Fagen's solo work as well, from Black Friday on Katy Lied in '75 to The New Frontier on Fagen's solo album, The Nightfly. Fagen famously owns 3 Rhodes pianos. They're so much a part of him that he's even given them nicknames, Lucy, Grace, and Wilma. And in 1978, the television sitcom, Taxi, began airing, bringing Bob Jane's Rhodes-driven tune Angela into the living room of millions of Americans each week. In '83, then head of CBS Music Company's Bill Schultz bought Rhodes for himself, ending the affiliation of Rhodes and CBS, which had lasted from '65 to '83. During that time, it's estimated that 250,000 Rhodes pianos were built. Under Schultz's leadership, Rhodes launched the Mark V, what many consider to be the ultimate Rhodes piano. In '85, the Mark V 73 listed for $1,095, not including the Peterson stand that was sold separately for an additional $150. 1983 was the same year that the Yamaha DX7 synthesizer was launched. The limitations of FM synthesis were overlooked because of the range of sounds it could produce and how incredibly portable the DX7 was. Harold Rhodes added in that interview that you were hearing many Rhodes patches on synthesizers, but they didn't have the complexity of the original. In particular, he felt that they lacked the wide dynamic range of the Rhodes due to the restrictions of MIDI having just 128 values for velocity, as opposed to the infinite subtleties of a physical key striking a note. In 1987, the Rhodes Company would be bought again, this time by Roland from Japan. But Roland was more interested in acquiring the trademark name and not really interested in building electromechanical pianos. They made keyboards that included Rhodes piano sounds. Harold Rhodes had left the company a long time ago and wasn't even alerted on the sale, and he was not happy with this change and the use of his name on these new keyboards. In 1986, Harold Rhodes suffered a stroke. He was 86 years old at the time. The next year, Roland returned the rights to the Rhodes name to Harold through a family friend, Joseph Brandsetter. In '97, Rhodes received a Grammy Lifetime Presidential Merit Award for his services to music. Though Harold wanted to bring back his original version of the piano, he wasn't able to get it done before his death in 2000, at the age of 89. In 2004, Joseph Brandsetter acquired the Rhodes trademark and built the last version of the Rhodes piano, the Mark VII, and folks loved that keyboard. Recently, the name has been licensed to the Rhodes Music Group Limited for manufacturing the instruments. That group launched a new version of the piano in 2021 in the form of the Rhodes Mark VIII. The Mark VIII piano adds many customizable features and allows for customizing colors of every aspect of the piano. It also includes the choice of an effects section, adding analog effects that were often used on a Rhodes in the past. The individual build quality and the customization comes at a price, though. Depending on the features you choose, the Mark VIII can run from between just below $10,000 to about $11,450. This is certainly a lot of money, but a simple calculation of inflation across this time shows that the original $895 price for a suitcase Rhodes in '67 translates to about $8,400 today. Given that the build quality and feature set far exceeds the original pianos, it helps to put this new pricing into perspective. I started playing guitar when I was 14 years old, but I'd been plinking on my family's upright grand piano from the first time I could reach the keyboard. Once I started on guitar in earnest, I figured out simple chords on the piano from knowing the notes on the guitar chords. By the time I was in high school, I could play just enough of some hits on the piano by Elton John and Jackson Browne to impress my girlfriends, or so I thought. These days, I'll often write music on a keyboard instead of a guitar, something about being on a less familiar instrument that breaks patterns for me. I've never been able to own a Rhodes, but I've always loved the variety of tones that my favorite artists have gotten out of them, and for that reason, this short history has been on my list from the earliest days of the channel. I hope you've enjoyed this little foray away from guitar history. I certainly enjoyed making it. If you like this video, you'll probably enjoy my video titled, "You're Not Listening for Musicians." First, I need to thank Pierre Pescatelli for playing his 1975 Rhodes Mark I Stage 73 throughout the video. Check out Pierre's excellent YouTube channel for more great Rhodes videos. The link is in the description. I used many online references while researching the video, but the book Down the Rhodes by Gerald Macaulay and Benjamin Bove is an amazing reference. I can never include all the great tunes in one short history video, so add your favorite Rhodes piano tune in the comments. I want to thank everyone that stopped by the online store and picked up a t-shirt, hoodie, hat, Stomp preset pack, or a 5 Watt World Barber BUSS pedal. And in particular, I need to thank the Friends of 5 Watt. It's the guitar community I've always wanted. You're all 5 Watt World. I just make the videos. If you enjoyed this romp through the history of the Fender Rhodes piano, hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that too. Thanks for hanging with me until the end. Until next time, I'm Keith Williams. Thanks for being a part of the 5 Watt World.